Welcome to this video titled Acceptance. It's been a while since I've made a video and I wanted to wait for this one until I felt like I had started to experience this level, not just in a casual way, but I wanted to wait until a time after implementing these techniques and practicing these techniques that we've been talking about, where it felt real for me to be able to share. So over the past month, since I last published a video, I've been experiencing some very deep and I would say some very core changes in my own psychology, in my own emotional state, in my way of experiencing, due to having practiced these techniques very deeply and very intensively. So it's going to be a short one today because the chapter on acceptance is quite short, and I'll throw in a few bits and pieces of my personal experience. But I hope you enjoy this, and I hope you get something for yourself out of this as you begin to move higher up these levels of consciousness, which is what we're talking about. So, acceptance. In acceptance, we enjoy the experience of harmony. We feel as though events are flowing. We feel secure. We can be of service to others without a feeling of self-sacrifice. There is the feeling, I'm okay, you're okay, it's okay. It's a feeling of belonging, connectedness, fullness, loving, understanding, and the feeling of being understood. It's a feeling of caring, warmth, and self-worth. Because of the security of this state, we can allow ourselves to be soft, mellow, and natural. There's joy, and we feel in tune and relaxed. There is the feeling that it's all right just to be ourselves. I just want to stop there and comment on that, because if that was actually a real state that you could live in as your standard, as your baseline state, can you imagine how easy, how much more effortless would relationships be if you felt joyful and in tune, if you felt like everything just kind of flowed, if you felt really secure? Just stop for a second and reflect on how much that would change your life. If you felt truly secure, what would that change about your career, your work situation, or your business? What would that change about your health and how you approach your physical body and your sense of wellness, if that was the case for you? Because so many of us are chasing ways of improving all these areas. Like we're working our asses off in our job or our business. We're working our ass off in our relationship, or we're in a lot of conflict, or there's drama happening very often. Or we're working our ass off in the area of physical well-being and health. But what this just opening passage is showing is if you can be at that level of acceptance, if you can come to that level of acceptance, all of this will begin to flow. All of this will begin to become much more effortless as a natural byproduct. So I just really want to drive home this point because it's huge. It's huge. If you think about the way that the world tends to operate, it's being run by programs of fear, scarcity, anger, desire, craving, aversion, and that just creates more of the same, and it creates more of the same problem. And if we can move into acceptance, all of that begins to flow. Everything is perfect as it is. In the state of acceptance, there is the feeling that nothing needs to be changed. Everything is perfect and beautiful the way it is. The world is to be enjoyed. There is compassion for others and for all living things. In this state, we are automatically nurturing and supportive of others without any feeling of sacrifice. That's a very stage blue spiral dynamics characteristic, the feeling that we need to be sacrificing. You know, that good results only come through sacrifice, or the way to love others is to sacrifice for them. Very blue stage way of thinking. The level of acceptance, that is no longer the case. Because of the inner security and feeling of abundance, there is generosity and ease of giving, with no expectation of return or record keeping, such as, here's what I'm doing for you. When we're in a state of acceptance, we love our friends instead of being critical, and we're willing to love them in spite of their limitations, which we willingly overlook. The way people appear to us from this space is that everyone is actually doing the best they can with what they have at the moment. We see that all of life is evolving towards its perfection, and we're in sync with the laws of the universe and consciousness. This is something that I have only just been beginning to tap into myself. I didn't know that there were laws of the universe, outside of what we know of physics and chemistry and all of these other physical laws. There are laws of consciousness which govern your experience, and I've been tapping into those lately as I move myself more into this level of acceptance. And we begin to become in sync with those. We start to notice those laws. We begin to act in harmony with them naturally, and that's why everything starts to flow. In this state, we really begin to understand love. On the level of acceptance, love is experienced as a stable state, a permanent condition of a relationship. The source of love is seen to be within ourselves, emanating from our own nature and reaching out to include others. In the state of desire, by contrast, we speak of being in love as the source of happiness, and love is thought to be outside of ourselves. When we're in the level of acceptance, however, or when we're on the lower energy level of desire, we are looking to be loved. I spend a lot of time looking to be loved in my relationships. It seems to be something we get. On the level of acceptance, however, our lovingness radiates out naturally from the essence of our being, because many of the blocks to its awareness have been surrendered. This is within you right now. The only thing that stops this from emerging, your love for yourself, your love for other people, are the blocks that are yet to be surrendered. All those lower level blocks which we've gone over in previous videos. We discover that this lovingness is our inner nature, and that it appears spontaneously and automatically when the blocks are removed. This is what the great teachers mean by our true inner essence, our true self with a capital S. It's the aim of our inner self to transcend the ego, that composite of all of our negative feelings, programs, and thoughts, so that we're able to experience the inner essential nature. There are many pathways that carry us to the state of acceptance, and this is the gateway which leads eventually to the next highest states, described as the consciousness levels of love and peace. This is where we're going. To many people who've been surrendering for long periods of time, this ultimate objective progressively supersedes all others. To dwell in states of unconditional love and imperturbable peace becomes the inner aim, more important than any other achievement. Acceptance of self and others. On the level of acceptance, because of the major change in the way we perceive others, we now become aware of the inner innocence behind the frantic, fear-driven struggles that have obscured it in ourselves and in our neighbors, friends, and family. The great teachers have said that the negativity which we see in a person or in society is really due to blindness, ignorance, and unconsciousness. That's all it is. This inner innocence, once it is perceived in others, is also perceived in ourselves. We peel back those enemy glasses that it talks about in A Course in Miracles. In A Course in Miracles, the book, great book, which I recommend you check out, talks about how part of our process of awakening is letting go of seeing the world as an enemy. The ego, in its fear-driven state, in its survival-driven state, projects its fears out onto the world and creates enemies out of everyone. Everything is a threat when you're an ego, when you're this physical body with its physical needs and its psychological needs. Everything that challenges that becomes a threat or an enemy. So at the level of acceptance, we start to see through that veil of the ego that the ego creates, and we start to see the innocence. Everyone is innocent underneath that ego structure. We're all that same pure, blank slate of consciousness having an experience. And we start to see this not just in others, but in ourselves, which just allows us to let go of more unconscious guilt and keep on rising, baby. All that we did was done because we just didn't know any better at the time. Hitler, Donald Trump, war criminals, Pol Pot, Mussolini, rapists, pedophiles. This is not lighthearted stuff. This is serious stuff. I'm not making these comments lightly. All of the people who we project as being evil are just a reflection of our own inner lack of acceptance. That's some hardcore stuff right there. And it's something that you can only experience. You can't just, I suppose in hearing this, you can't just say, oh, I guess that sounds true. You have to come to a place in yourself, in your own inner journey, where you begin to realize that all the evil you see out there is a projection. Pretty full on. We see that same blindness operating in others, and we can look past their character defects and see the innocent child within. Once we see our innocence, there's an identification with others and a loss of feeling alone and stressed. We're able to see innocence even behind the most rash and apparently horrible behaviors. We look inside a person and see the frightened animal that just doesn't know any better. We're aware that if cornered, it will surely attack us and bite. It doesn't just realize that our intentions are peaceful, and so it flails out wildly. In the state of acceptance, it's possible to forgive our own past as well as that of others, and to heal past resentments. It's also possible to see the hidden gift in past events about which we've been resentful, including their possible karmic significance. From this level, it's possible to create a different context from which to view the past and thereby heal it. With the final completion of the level of acceptance, we feel secure about our future and can move on to the levels of love and peace. Reason and logic become tools for the fulfillment of that potential. So we repurpose our reason and logic from being tools that we use to break the world and the universe into a grid in a computer-like digital binary fashion where we emphasize separation and difference. And we can repurpose reason and logic so that it becomes a tool which we use to further our own consciousness, to further our own expansion, lovingness, and enlightenment. Everything begins to get recontextualized as we move up these levels, which is really amazing. Another characteristic of the level of acceptance is that we're no longer concerned with moralistic judgments of good and bad. It just becomes obvious what works and what doesn't work. What's practical, what's effective in our journey of attaining these goals that we've set for ourselves. It's easy to see what's destructive and what's optimal without judging anything as evil. There's the elimination of guilt, which accompanies all judgments against ourselves and others. We then see the meaning of the statement, "Judge not, lest ye be judged." In acceptance, we have let go of the inner guilt monger that found fault with even our most basic human drives. We can enjoy our physicality without moralistic aversion or compulsive self-gratification. We accept that others have come to their understanding of life and their ethical views in a way that makes sense to them, even if their beliefs and behaviors are quite different to ours. When we see the innocence in everyone, we can truly fulfill loving our neighbor as ourselves, and thus letting go has allowed us to reach a lofty goal without even the conscious attempt to do so. Isn't it interesting? Like, you set the goal to become a more loving person, and the way to do it isn't to just tell yourself, oh, be more loving, be more loving, be more loving. It's to surrender the blocks to love. It's a natural unfolding process that happens as you go through this process. The level of acceptance is characterized by the attitude of selfishness, selflessness, and service. This results from the surrendering of the negative feelings that create the small self. The ego is actually created out of negative feelings. Powerful stuff right there, which removes our identification with it. Instead, inner harmony and peace are experienced as the nature of the greater self. Because the negative programs have been relinquished, there's the emergence of greater creativity, inspiration, and intuition. There is certainty that our own personal needs will be met. Therefore, there's a shift in relationships so that the focus is on the welfare and happiness of others. This is facilitated by the fact that at this level, there's no longer neediness in the form of dependency on other people because there's nothing we feel we need to get from them. In a relationship of loving acceptance, minor imperfections are no longer given serious importance and are overlooked. That's incredible. In acceptance, there is a decreased preoccupation with doingness, a growing focus on the quality of beingness itself, and the perfection of our own inner capacity for caring and lovingness. Although negative feelings may still arise, they are less and less frequent and are handled with greater ease. In general, functioning is now easy, and the daily activities become hardly noticeable because of their effortlessness. Personal responsibility, doesn't that just sound amazing? Everything becomes effortless. Sounds too good to be true? Test it for yourself. Test this journey, test this process. You will find what you find. I'm finding that this is true for me. The hallmark of this state is the taking of responsibility for our own consciousness. Interest in meditation and the various methods of inner contemplation is common. Spiritual and ethical matters become important. We may, for instance, attend religious retreats if we're religious, or we may engage in spiritual or humanitarian endeavors if we're oriented towards those spheres. The world is seen to be harmonious, and any alteration of that appearance is realized to be a projection onto it of our own inner conflicts. On this level, there's the awareness that all feelings are our own problem, and there's no longer looking outside of ourselves for their resolution. There's a seriousness regarding the growth of our own consciousness and self-awareness, and a focus on honing the quality of that consciousness itself. On this level, we may begin to develop an interest in the philosophy, scientific research, and spiritual classics that explore the highest potential of human mind and spirit. What becomes increasingly important is what we are becoming, not what we have or do. On this level, we take on the challenge of fulfilling our greatest inner potential and nurturing the potential and dreams of others. That's where our focus goes. If muscle tested in this state, we test strong. We are relatively immune to negative influences such as the weakening vibrations of fluorescent lights, synthetic fabrics, or artificial sweeteners. Your whole immune system levels up. There's a strong commitment to health and wellness and bettering ourselves on all levels. Health issues are often considered to be problems at the psychological, emotional, or mental levels, and resources are sought and found which help to resolve the issues at all of those levels. The power of self-healing is now available. In acceptance, we are free to be in the present. Once we've accepted our own true nature and the ways of the universe as they're reflected in our world, there's no longer regret about the past, nor is there fear of the future. Fear of the future no longer exists when the past has been healed. That is just a huge key. On this journey myself, I have considered many times that maybe I spend too much time looking at the past with the intention of healing it, of letting go, of releasing it. But I realize that if I still feel the urge to observe my past and heal it, that's because something's there. If there wasn't something there, then I wouldn't feel this urge anymore. And I know that there can be attachment to just playing things over and over in your own mind or reliving certain experiences, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you can still feel that there's trauma or there's memories that you've repressed or emotions which you haven't been able to look at. There's still stuff in the past that needs to be healed, to allow it to come up, to look at it, to observe it, and to accept it. And then the healing is complete. And then there's no longer fear about the future because the past has been healed. It's such a huge key. This is because in the usual ego-oriented state of consciousness, the ego tends to project the past upon the future, and a past that's viewed negatively becomes fearful when projected upon the imaginary future. Our letting go of the lower energies of guilt, fear, anger, and pride has alleviated the weight of the past and cleared the clouds of the future. We face today with optimism and we're grateful to be alive. We see that yesterday is gone, tomorrow has not yet come, and we have only today. In summary then, the consciousness level of acceptance is one that we all long to achieve, for it enables us to find freedom from most of life's problems and to experience fulfillment and happiness. So that's the level of acceptance. Things sounded amazing when we looked at the level of courage, but as we continue to rise, there's more yet to be had. If you are on this letting go journey and you think to yourself, I've already let go of so much, I'm just gonna coast here for a while. Keep letting go of even that. Let go of that state itself. Letting go just means allow it to be. Don't try and change it, modify it. Allow it to come up, and you'll see your state of awareness, consciousness, equanimity, peacefulness with everything that is, and your effectiveness to live the kind of life that you want only continues to increase and expand. So I hope you enjoyed that, and please throw any comments down below about how your journey's been going or any questions about this work. I'd love to see those. I'd love to answer those or just continue the conversation. Share this with a friend and continue your practice. I hope that you're getting a lot from that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video, which is love. Get excited.